our beloved Master. One day, on his way to see Mao Tzu, Tanka Tenen met an old man with a boy and asked them where they lived. The old man answered, "Above is the sky, below is the earth." Tanka said, "How about if the sky crumbled away and the earth fell to pieces?" The old man said, Ah. The boy drew a deep breath, and Tanka said, "If there were no father, no child would be born." The old man and the child entered the mountains and were seen no more. Once, Tanka Tenen was lying on the Tenshin Bridge. Lord Teiko, who was in charge of the bridge, came out and warned Tanka that he had better move, but Tanka didn't get up. Teiko asked why he didn't listen to him. After a few moments, Tanka said, "I am a monk of nothing." Teiko was taken aback by Tanka Tenen's response, and from then on provided him with clothing and a daily meal. After the incident, Tanka Tenen was venerated by the whole city.
Friends, the first question. In Thomas Merton's view, Zen is not a systematic explanation of life. It is not an ideology. It is not a worldview. It is not a theology of revelation and salvation. It is not a mystique. It is not a way of ascetic perfection. It is not mysticism, as it is understood in the West. In fact, it fits no convenient category of ours. Hence, all our attempts to tag it and dispose of it with labels like pantheism, quietism, illuminism, Pelagianism must be completely incongruous. But the chief characteristic of Zen is that it rejects all systematic elaborations in order to get back as far as possible to the pure, unarticulated and unexplained ground of direct experience. The direct experience of what? Life itself. Beloved Master, has Thomas Merton got it? It is a very sad story about Thomas Merton. Perhaps he was one of the persons in the West who has come closest to Zen. He had a sensibility of a poet. The others are approaching Zen from their intellect, their minds. Thomas Merton is approaching Zen through his heart. He feels it, but he could not live the direct experience he is talking about. He would have been the first Zen master in the West, but he was prevented by the Catholic Church. Thomas Merton was a Trappist monk under the Vatican. The Trappist monks are the most self-torturing ascetics in Christianity. Perhaps that's why they are called trappists, trapped forever. Thomas Merton wrote beautiful poetry, and he asked again and again that he wanted to go to Japan and to live in a Zen monastery, to have the direct experience of Zen. But the permission was refused. Almost half a dozen times, again and again he was refused. If he has really understood Zen, he would not have bothered even to ask the permission. Who is the Vatican? Who is the Pope? Asking permission from unenlightened people by Zen masters is simply not heard of. And he followed the orders from the Vatican and from his own abbot of the monastery. He has been reading as much as was available in English about Zen. Finally, he had a chance, but he did not understand the way that organized religions work. There was going to be a Catholic conference of missionaries in Bangkok, Thailand. He asked the permission to attend the conference. Deep in his heart, he was going to Bangkok to attend the conference, just in order so that from Bangkok he can have an entry into Japan without asking anybody's permission. But the Pope and the Vatican leaders and his abbot, they were all aware of his continuously asking for going to a Zen monastery. The last day of the conference in Bangkok, he spoke, and he spoke about Zen, and he also mentioned that he would love to go to Japan from Bangkok. That very night he was found dead. And without informing anybody, his body was embalmed immediately, without any autopsy, without knowing the cause of his death. After you have embalmed a body, there is no possibility of autopsy. There is every reason to suspect that he was murdered by a poison, to prevent him from going to a Zen monastery. Murder has been the argument of the so-called religions. This is not a religious attitude at all. If he wanted to experience Zen, any religious man would have allowed him to go. That what happens in Zen, no master ever rejects any disciple's interest into some other Zen monk, into some other monastery, maybe belonging to a different branch, Soto or Rinzai. It is gracefully given not only to those who are inquiring to go somewhere else, but even the master himself, if he feels that some other master will be more appropriate, some other path leading to the direct experience will be more fitting to the disciple, he himself sends his disciples to other monasteries. This is a totally different world of Zen. No competitiveness, no question of conversion. Thomas Merton's murder shows the poverty of Catholicism and Christianity. Why they were so afraid? The fear was that Thomas Merton has already praised Zen, and although he is living in the monastery, it seems he is wavering between Zen and Christianity. To give him a chance to go to Japan and have a direct experience under a master may be a dangerous thing. He may be involved into Zen for his whole life. And these so-called religions are so jealous. They don't have any compassion for individual growth, freedom. Thomas Merton's murder is not only Thomas Merton's murder, it should make every Christian aware that Christianity is not a religion. Deep down, it is more interested in gathering numbers. Numbers have their own politics. The greater number of followers you have, the greater power to dominate. And they are always afraid that anybody who leaves their fold is betraying. But it is absolutely certain that for Thomas Merton, has already in his heart felt the immense need of Zen. Christianity was no more satisfying, and he has been his whole life a monk in the monastery. But slowly as he became aware of Zen, he could see Christianity is not at all a religion. Fictions, lies, beliefs, but not a direct experience. The very idea of Zen as a non-systematic, individualist approach to truth in a direct way, not through theology, not through any belief, not through any philosophy, but through meditation, was attracting him immensely. But it was not yet an experience. He is far better than Suzuki, than Alan Watts, than Paul Rapes, than Hubert Benoit, and then many others who have written about Zen. Thomas Merton comes to the closest because he is not speaking through the head, he is speaking through the heart of a poet. but the heart is only just in the middle between the head and the being. Unless you reach to the being, you don't have the experience yourself. But he was a sensitive man. He could manage to state things which he has not experienced. His statement is beautiful, but it shows clearly that he has not experienced it himself. This is his understanding. Of course, far deeper than any other Western scholar about Zen. If it has been really a direct experience to him as he is talking about, he would not have cared about anybody's permission. He would not have cared about Christianity. He would have come out of that fold, which was just a slavery and nothing else. Because he never came out of the fold, it shows he is hanging in the middle. He is not yet certain. He has not tasted the truth. He has only heard about it, read about it, and felt that there seems to be a different approach, altogether different than Christianity. But Christianity was still keeping its hold over him. He could not be a rebel. That's where he fell. Completely failed. A man of Zen is basically rebellious. He was not rebellious. He was a very obedient person. And obedience is another name of slavery. A beautiful name that does not hurt you, but it is spiritual slavery. His asking for 6 times and being refused, and he still remained in the fold, shows clearly that he is spiritually a slave. Although he is showing deep interest in Zen, but it is at the most deeper than the mind, but not deep enough to reach to the being. He remained hanging in the middle. Perhaps now in his new life, either he may be here or in Japan. Most probably he may be here amongst you, because that was his last wish before he died. As the conference ended and he went to his bed, immediately he was passing. The last wish must have been while he was dying, thinking about Zen, going to Japan, being with a master. He has lived under Christianity his whole life, but it has not fulfilled him. It has not made him enlightened. It has only been a consolation. Only fools can be deceived by consolations and lies and fictions. A man of that intense sensitivity as Thomas Merton could not be befooled. But a lifelong obedience turned into a spiritual slavery. He tried to sneak out from Bangkok because there was no need to ask the abbot of the monastery. There was no need to ask the Pope. He could have simply gone from Bangkok, but these so-called religions are murderous. They must have been ready that if he shows any interest in Japan and does not go back to his monastery directly from Bangkok as the conference ends, the murderers must have been already there. And because he mentioned in his last speech to the conference that he is immensely interested in Zen and he would like to go to Japan from here, this statement became his death. So it is not only Ayatollah Khomeini. There have been murders and murders century after century of people who wanted to get out of the slavery and seek and search the truth on their own, who wanted to get rid of all systems, who wanted to have a direct experience of life. His words are beautiful, but they are empty words because there is no supporting experience behind them. I will read those words again. Zen is not a systematic explanation of life. But this can be said very easily, reading by anybody books about Zen. It is not a systematic explanation of life. In fact, it is not an explanation at all. That makes the difference. He is denying Zen is not a systematic explanation of life. I say unto you, Zen is not an explanation at all about life or existence. It is experience, not an explanation. It is not an ideology. This can be said by anyone who is reading a book on Zen. But it is so apparently stated by so many people who have only intellectual understanding that it is not a great indication that Thomas Merton has had any experience. Zen certainly is not an ideology. It is not a worldview. All these are different words for the same thing, a systematic explanation, an ideology, a worldview, a theology of revelation and salvation. He is simply being tautological. He is saying the same thing again and again in different words. It is not a mystique. There he is wrong. It is, although it is not stated. That's why he thought it is not a mystique. It is the greatest mystique, but it is not said because it cannot be said. Because it is not said ever, he thought that it is not a mystique. These small things indicate that he is just read about it. Because nowhere it is said it is a mystique, because no master ever indicated into words that it is a mystique, he thinks it is not a mystique. It is. It is the greatest mystique, the greatest mystery, the greatest miracle. But to say it into words has not been the way of Zen. It attracts people, takes away their ideologies, their theologies, their religions, and leaves them absolutely fresh at the very center of your being without saying anything. You experience the mystic. You experience the mystery of existence in life. But because it is an experience, in Zen they don't even use the word experience. They use the word experiencing. Because the experience is not something dead and complete. It is a river flowing, alive, moving. The experience indicates that it has become complete. Anything that becomes complete becomes dead. And Zen is the most alive thing in the world. Hence, it cannot be said that it is an experience. We have to invent a word, experiencing. Instead of river, rivering. That gives it a clear-cut idea that river is not static. It is moving on the way, always on the way, moving eternally, falling into the ocean, rising into the clouds, falling into the rain on the mountains, again the river, moving in a circle of tremendous aliveness, never stopping anywhere. There is no full stop in Zen. And all our words, experience, knowledge, understanding, give the illusion of a full stop. We have to change our nouns into verbs. Verbs come closer to life.